The Caldwell estate wasn't just a house, it was a monument to intellect, to success, to everything I felt I wasn't. Polished mahogany, hushed libraries lined with leather-bound volumes, manicured gardens that stretched for acres. It was all a testament to the Caldwell family's legacy, a legacy that felt less like a birthright and more like a suffocating weight. I'm Ethan Caldwell, the artistically inclined misfit of a family known for its scientific and business achievements. From a young age, while my brothers Alistair and Bennett were dissecting complex equations or negotiating lucrative deals, my mind wandered to melodies, to the stories embedded in the old folk songs of Appalachia. Ethan, darling, must you with that racket? My mother, Eleanor, her voice a delicate blend of exasperation and first patience, stood in the doorway of my room. She clutched a string of pearls, her fingers fidgeting. I lowered my guitar, the strings still vibrating with the echoes of a mournful ballad. It's music, Mother, I said, my voice barely audible. Just practicing. Practicing what? Exactly. Wasting your time. Your father has important investors coming this afternoon, and he expects you to be present. You're a Caldwell, Ethan. You have a responsibility. Her words weren't intended to hurt, but the underlying message was always the same. My passions were frivolous, a distraction from the serious business of being a Caldwell. My father, Richard Caldwell, was a man carved from granite. His gaze could cut through steel. His words could build empires or crush spirits. He was the patriarch, the architect of the Caldwell Empire, and he expected unwavering obedience and unwavering success from his sons. Logic, Ethan, reason, these are the pillars upon which we build our lives, he would say, his voice a low rumble that echoed through the cavernous holes of the estate. Sentimentality is a weakness, a distraction from the pursuit of excellence. Alistair, the golden child, a brilliant astrophysicist on the verge of a groundbreaking discovery, always seemed to effortlessly embody my father's ideals. And Bennett, with his ruthless business acumen, was already carving out a place for himself in the family empire. I, on the other hand, felt like a misplaced note in a perfectly orchestrated symphony. Father, I began, then stopped, knowing my explanation would fall on deaf ears. He simply sighed, a sound that conveyed volumes of disappointment. Ethan, I understand that you have certain inclinations, but I urge you to consider your future. This family has built its reputation on hard work and tangible achievements. Don't squander your potential on transient whims. It wasn't just my father. The subtle disapproval permeated the entire household. The raised eyebrows, the condescending smiles, the thinly veiled pity, they all chipped away at my confidence, reinforcing the feeling that I didn't belong. My only solace was my music. I would sneak away to the attic, a dusty, forgotten space filled with discarded relics of generations past, and lose myself in the ballads. The melodies were my escape, the lyrics my confessional. In those songs, I found a voice, a connection to something deeper than the sterile world of the Caldwell estate. The attic became my sanctuary, a world away from the pressure and judgment of my family, surrounded by dusty trunks, forgotten portraits, and moth-eaten furniture. I could finally breathe, finally be myself. It was there, amidst the forgotten relics of the past, that I discovered my unique ability to not just play the old ballads, but to reinterpret them, to breathe new life into them, to infuse them with my own emotions and experiences. I would spend hours listening to scratchy recordings, transcribing the melodies, and then experimenting with new arrangements, new harmonies, new lyrical interpretations. The music became my refuge, a way to express the feelings that I couldn't articulate in words. The loneliness, the frustration, the yearning for connection, they all poured into the songs, transforming them into something both personal and universal. I kept my passion a secret, fearing the ridicule and disapproval of my family. But the music was too strong to be contained. It needed to be shared, to be heard, to be felt. One night, driven by an irresistible urge, I ventured out to a small, dimly lit tavern on the edge of town. The Drunken Crow was a far cry from the polished social gatherings my family frequented, but it had a certain authenticity, a raw energy that appealed to my soul. Hesitantly, I stepped inside. The air was thick with smoke and the mingled scents of stale beer and cheap whiskey. A few locals were scattered round the room, nursing their drinks and engaging in hushed conversations. A small, makeshift stage stood in the corner, bathed in the flickering glow of a single kerosene lamp. My heart pounded in my chest. I felt a mix of excitement and terror. This was it. This was my chance to share my music with the world, to step out of the shadows and into the light. I approached the owner, a gruff-looking man with a handlebar mustache and a weary gaze. "Excuse me," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I'm a musician, and I was wondering if I could play a few songs." He eyed me skeptically, taking in my tailored clothes and nervous demeanor. "You don't look like much of a musician," he said, his voice rough. "But I'm always looking for some new entertainment. Get up there and show me what you got." I swallowed hard and nodded. I grabbed my guitar and made my way to the stage. As I adjusted the microphone, my hands trembling, I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. And then I began to play. The music poured out of me, a torrent of emotion and melody. I sang the old ballads with a newfound passion, infusing them with my own unique style. The words resonated with the truth of my experience, the yearning for acceptance, the struggle for self-expression. The crowd was captivated. They listened intently, their faces etched with emotion. Some tapped their feet, others sang along, and a few even shed tears. For the first time in my life, I felt seen, heard, understood. I wasn't Ethan Caldwell, the misfit son of a wealthy family. I was the wanderer, a storyteller, a musician, a conduit for the emotions of the human heart. I played for hours that night, lost in the music, lost in the moment. As the last notes faded away, the crowd erupted in applause. The owner of the tavern grinned. "You got a real talent, kid," he said, slapping me on the back. "You're hired. Play here every Friday night." And so, the Wanderer was born. My Friday night performances at the Drunken Crow became a lifeline, a chance to escape the confines of my carefully constructed life and connect with something real. I reveled in the anonymity, the freedom to be myself without the weight of expectations. The Drunken Crow wasn't fancy, but it was genuine. The people were genuine. They were dock workers, farmers, shop owners, and dreamers, just like me. I got to be myself with them, and I loved it. Word spread quickly, and soon the Drunken Crow was packed every Friday night. People came from miles around to hear the Wanderer sing his haunting ballads, to lose themselves in his stories, to feel the raw emotion that poured from his soul. I was no longer just Ethan Caldwell. I was someone else. But my double life couldn't last forever. The inevitable happened one Friday night. I saw him standing near the back of the crowded tavern. Bennett, my older brother, the one who always seemed to be one step ahead of me, the one who always seemed to know exactly how to please my father. His face was like stone. His eyes narrowed with disapproval. My heart sank. I knew that my secret was out, and I dreaded the consequences. I finished my set, my hands shaking, my voice trembling. Bennett waited for me after my performance, his arms crossed, his jaw tight. "Ethan," he said, his voice laced with contempt, "what do you think you're doing? Embarrassing our family in this dive?" He gestured dismissively round the tavern. The Drunken Crow wasn't much to look at, but it was home to me now. "I'm playing music, Bennett," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's what I love." He scoffed. "Love? Don't be ridiculous. You're throwing your life away on some childish fantasy. Father expects you to be focusing on the business, on contributing to the family legacy. And what are you doing? Singing sad songs in a bar filled with drunks." My anger flared. "Those sad songs mean something to these people, Bennett. They tell stories, they connect us, they make us feel alive. Something you wouldn't understand, locked away in your sterile office, crunching numbers all day." He sneered. "Sentimentality is a luxury we can't afford, Ethan. The Caldwell family has built its reputation on logic and reason, not on pathetic emotions. He spat the last word out like it was poison. Maybe that's why you're all so miserable, I retorted, the words slipping out before I could stop them. Bennett's face flushed with anger. You'll regret saying that, Ethan. Father will hear about this, and he won't be pleased. With that, he turned and stormed out of the tavern, leaving me standing there, my heart pounding in my chest. The next morning, I was summoned to my father's office. The air was thick with tension, the silence broken only by the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. My father sat behind his massive mahogany desk, his face an unreadable mask. Ethan, he said, his voice devoid of emotion, I've heard about your extracurricular activities. Your brother tells me you've been performing in some low-class establishment, calling yourself the Wanderer, and making a spectacle of yourself. I braced myself for the inevitable lecture, the inevitable disappointment. It's not a spectacle, Father, I said, trying to defend myself. It's music. It's how I express myself. He sighed, a sound that conveyed volumes of disappointment. I had hoped you would grow out of this phase, Ethan. I had hoped you would embrace your responsibilities, contribute to the family's success. But it seems I was mistaken. What do you want me to do, Father? I asked, my voice laced with desperation. Give up my music, pretend to be someone I'm not. His gaze hardened. I want you to focus on your future, Ethan. I want you to understand the importance of hard work, of dedication, of contributing to something greater than yourself. I want you to stop embarrassing the Caldwell family with your childish pursuits. The pressure was unbearable. I felt trapped, suffocated by the weight of my family's expectations. I wanted to scream, to rebel, to run away, and never look back. But I knew I couldn't. I was a Caldwell, and the weight of that name was a burden I couldn't escape. If that's what you want, Father, I said, my voice barely a whisper, then I'll do it. I wanted to take it back as soon as I said it. I can't give up. I just can't. The following weeks were a blur of silent meals, stifled creativity, and gnawing frustration. I quit performing at the Drunken Crow, much to the disappointment of the locals. The Wanderer was gone, silenced by the weight of Caldwell expectations. I tried to immerse myself in the family business, to feign interest in spreadsheets and profit margins, but my heart wasn't in it. The numbers swam before my eyes, meaningless symbols that held no connection to my soul. My nights were filled with restless sleep, haunted by melodies that I couldn't express, stories that I couldn't tell. The silence was deafening, the absence of music a constant ache in my heart. I was a prisoner in my own life, trapped in a gilded cage of wealth and privilege. One afternoon, while aimlessly flipping through a newspaper, my gaze fell upon an advertisement for a national folk music competition. The prize was a record deal, a chance to share your music with the world. A flicker of hope ignited within me. It was a long shot, but it was a chance to prove myself, to show my family that my music wasn't a childish pursuit, but a legitimate art form. A chance to reclaim my voice, to become the Wanderer once more. I hesitated. The thought of defying my father, of risking his disapproval, filled me with dread, but the thought of giving up on my dream, of living a life devoid of passion, was even more terrifying. With trembling hands, I filled out the application form, using my stage name, The Wanderer, to conceal my true identity. It was a gamble, a dangerous act of rebellion, but I couldn't resist the allure of the stage, the pull of the music. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. I dusted off my old guitar, honed my vocal skills, and crafted a set list of my most powerful and emotionally resonant ballads. I spent hours in the library, researching folk music history, studying the techniques of the masters, and searching for new ways to express myself through my music. I also sought out the advice of local musicians, seasoned performers who had dedicated their lives to the art of storytelling through song. They shared their wisdom, their insights, and their encouragement, helping me to refine my craft and to find my unique voice. As the day of the competition drew closer, I felt a surge of excitement and nervous energy. I knew that I was taking a risk, that I was defying my family's expectations, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was my destiny, that this was what I was meant to do. On the day of the competition, I packed my guitar and drove to the venue, a historic theater in a nearby city. As I stood backstage, waiting for my turn to perform, my heart pounded in my chest. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and imagined myself on the stage, surrounded by the warm glow of the spotlight, sharing my music with the world. And then, my name was called. It was time to face my fears, to embrace my passion, to become the wanderer once more. This had to work. This was everything to me. Walking onto that stage felt like stepping into another dimension. The bright lights, the expectant faces in the audience, the palpable energy in the air was both exhilarating and terrifying. I swallowed hard, adjusted the microphone, and took a deep breath. "Hello," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "My name is the Wanderer, and I'm going to sing you a few songs." As my fingers touched the strings of my guitar, a wave of calm washed over me. The fear receded, replaced by a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. The music flowed through me, a conduit for the emotions I had been suppressing for so long. I sang my heart out, pouring all my pain, my hope, my longing into every note. I told stories of love and loss, of struggle and resilience, of the enduring power of the human spirit. My voice resonated with a newfound strength, a newfound conviction. The audience was captivated. They listened intently, their faces etched with emotion. Some tapped their feet, others swayed to the rhythm, and a few even shed tears. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly alive, truly connected to something greater than myself. As I finished my set, the theater erupted in applause. The energy in the room was electric, the air thick with emotion. I bowed my head, my heart overflowing with gratitude. Backstage, I was met with a flurry of congratulations and compliments. The judges praised my technical skill, my unique style, and my ability to connect with the audience on an emotional level. One judge, a renowned folk musician named Sarah Miller, approached me with a warm smile. "You have a gift, young man," she said, her voice sincere. "Your music is raw, honest, and deeply moving. Don't ever stop singing." Her words resonated with me, validating my passion, affirming my purpose. I knew then that I had made the right decision, that I was on the right path. The results of the competition were announced that evening. As the host read the names of the finalists, my heart pounded in my chest. And then, my name was called, and the winner of the National Folk Music Competition is the Wanderer. The theater erupted in cheers. I couldn't believe it. I had won. The Wanderer had triumphed. As I walked onto the stage to accept my award, the spotlight blinding me, I couldn't help but think of my father, of my family, of the expectations that had weighed me down for so long. I wondered what they would think of my victory, of my newfound success. In that moment, I realized that I no longer needed their approval. I had proven myself. I had found my voice, and I had embraced my destiny. I was the Wanderer, and I was finally free. The aftermath of the competition was a whirlwind. Record labels clamored for my signature. Concert promoters booked me for shows across the country, and the media hounded me for interviews and photo shoots. The Wanderer had become an overnight sensation. My music was everywhere, on the radio, on television, on the internet. My face graced the covers of magazines. My story was splashed across newspapers. I was living the dream, the life I had always longed for. But amidst the fame and the fortune, I couldn't shake a lingering sense of unease. I knew that my secret wouldn't stay buried forever. Sooner or later, someone would connect the Wanderer to Ethan Caldwell, and my carefully constructed world would come crashing down. The revelation came sooner than I expected. A journalist, digging through public records, uncovered my connection to the Caldwell family. The story was explosive. Wealthy heiress transforms into folk music sensation. The media frenzy was intense. Reporters camped out on the Caldwell estate, hounding my family for comment. The story dominated the news cycle for days, sparking a national debate about privilege, authenticity, and the pursuit of passion. My father, furious at the exposure, demanded that I return home immediately. "You've humiliated this family enough, Ethan," he said, his voice cold and unforgiving. "It's time you came to your senses and abandoned this ridiculous charade." I refused. I had come too far, sacrificed too much, to turn back now. I was the wanderer, and I was determined to continue my journey, regardless of the consequences. The ensuing conflict with my family was bitter and painful. They accused me of betraying them, of shaming them, of abandoning my responsibilities. I accused them of stifling me, of controlling me, of refusing to accept me for who I was. The rift between us grew wider and deeper, seemingly irreparable. In the midst of the turmoil, I received an unexpected visitor. It was Bennett, my brother, the one who had betrayed my secret, the one who had always seemed to resent my artistic pursuits. He looked different, haggard, almost defeated. His eyes were filled with a mixture of shame and regret. "Ethan," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "I need to talk to you." We sat in silence for a moment, the tension hanging heavy in the air. Then he began to speak, his words tumbling out in a rush of confession. He told me that he had always been jealous of me, of my artistic talent, of my ability to express myself so freely. He had envied my passion, my creativity, my freedom from the suffocating weight of the Caldwell expectations. He admitted that he had betrayed me out of spite, out of a desire to see me fail. He had hoped that by exposing my secret, he would force me to conform, to embrace the life that had been laid out for me. "I was wrong, Ethan," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. "I was so wrong. I see now that what you're doing is something truly special. You're using your music to touch people's lives, to inspire them, to make a difference in the world. I admire that, Ethan. I truly do." His words stunned me. I had expected anger, resentment, perhaps even a veiled threat, but I had never expected this, a heartfelt apology, a genuine expression of remorse. "Why are you telling me this, Bennett?" I asked, my voice tinged with suspicion. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Because I can't live with the guilt anymore, Ethan. I've been miserable ever since I betrayed you. I've lost my purpose, my direction. I need to make things right, to ask for your forgiveness." I stared at him, my mind reeling. Could I forgive him? Could I let go of the anger and resentment that had consumed me for so long? I thought of the pain he had caused me, the humiliation he had inflicted upon me, but I also thought of his own struggles, his own insecurities, his own yearning for acceptance. And then I made a decision. I couldn't hold onto the anger any longer. It was poisoning me, preventing me from moving forward. "I forgive you, Bennett," I said, my voice sincere, "but it's going to take time to rebuild our relationship. I need to see that you're truly sorry, that you're committed to making amends." He nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. "I understand, Ethan," he said. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Bennett's confession was the first crack in the wall of animosity that had separated me from my family. In the weeks that followed, my mother reached out, expressing her regret for not supporting my passions, for allowing my father's expectations to overshadow my own dreams. Even my father, the stoic patriarch, softened. He admitted that he had been wrong to stifle my creativity, that he had been too focused on material success and not enough on my emotional well-being. He didn't apologize, not in so many words, but he made an effort to understand my music, to appreciate my talent, to accept me for who I was. The reconciliation with my family was a slow and difficult process, but it was also incredibly rewarding. We learned to communicate openly, to respect each other's differences, and to support each other through thick and thin. The scars of the past would always remain, but they no longer defined us. We had found a way to heal, to forgive, and to move forward together. Years passed. The Wanderer's music continued to resonate with audiences around the world. My albums topped the charts. My concerts sold out. And my foundation supported countless young artists in pursuing their dreams. The Caldwell Foundation, once a symbol of my family's rigid expectations, transformed into an organization that celebrated creativity, fostered innovation, and promoted social change. Bennett, after a period of soul-searching, found his calling in environmental activism. He dedicated his life to protecting the natural world, working tirelessly to raise awareness about climate change and to promote sustainable practices. Alistair, still a brilliant astrophysicist, used his platform to advocate for science education and to inspire young people to pursue careers in STEM fields. And my mother, Victoria, blossomed into a patron of the arts, supporting local museums, theaters, and music organizations. Even my father, Richard, underwent a profound transformation. He retired from the family business, embraced a quieter life, and dedicated his time to philanthropic endeavors. He even started taking guitar lessons, finally embracing the music that had once been a source of so much conflict between us. Our family dinners became gatherings of laughter, warmth, and genuine connection. We shared stories, celebrated accomplishments, and supported each other through challenges. We had learned to appreciate the beauty of imperfection, the power of forgiveness, and the importance of family. One evening, as I stood on a grand stage, bathed in the warm glow of the spotlight, I looked out at the audience, a sea of faces from all walks of life. I saw joy, hope, and inspiration reflected in their eyes. I realized that I had come a long way from the isolated, stifled young man who had once felt trapped within the walls of the Caldwell estate. I had found my voice. I had embraced my passion. And I had used my music to make a difference in the world. And as I began to sing, my heart overflowing with gratitude, I knew that I had finally found true happiness, not just in success, but in forgiveness, in compassion, and in the enduring power of love. How do you find today's story? Leave a comment below. If you like this video, please like and share. Especially don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our interesting and exciting stories.